Good evening, guys. Hey, coming at you from Washington, D.C. Going to be an exciting Facebook Live tonight. A lot of information to cover. It's been a busy week, and the week's not over yet. There's still more to go, but it has been one heck of a productive week. I think it's probably been literally the most productive trip I've ever had for sure in the 10 years that I've been working on shared parenting legislation. Hands down, it's been the most productive trip so far this week. So I want to share some of the things I'm not allowed to share, and not trying to be cryptic or anything like that, but one of the biggest keys that you work on when you're dealing with the White House or when you're dealing with members of the House or the Senate is building that trust. And they want to make sure that they can trust you, that you're not going to share details that are not meant to be shared publicly. And sometimes people get overzealous and they try and get their 15 minutes of fame by, how you doing, Brandon? By sharing things publicly. And they win the war or win the battle, but they lose the war because they never get back invited to that office. And I am fully cognizant of the fact that there will be members of the administration and members of the U.S. Congress that are going to be watching this and monitoring what I say to find out am I someone that can be trusted to be able to keep the things that need to be kept confidential. There are some things that I am able to share, so I'm going to try and share some of that with you. But first, as we do get started, I want to say, first off, a big thank you to each of you for the encouragement along the way. I've been putting in a lot of long hours. Some of you know I've been getting up at 5:30 in the morning, going till well past midnight. And it's very hard when you're traveling, especially when you're going state to state and you never really do get a chance to rest and recuperate. But it's very encouraging when I get messages and text messages from you guys just encouraging me, letting me know you're supporting me. It really does mean a lot. I hope you don't think that I take that for granted. I also want to make sure that people understand that I'm fully cognizant of the fact that I'm not some one-man army. It's a lot of great people in the shared parenting community. We're not in competition with each other. So what I go through tonight isn't meant to say that, hey, what I'm doing is more important than what someone else is doing. They're all important. It's sort of like, what's more important, breathing in or breathing out? Well, you need both. So what I'm doing doesn't in any way delineate the efforts of a lot of other great leaders out there who are doing some phenomenal work. Matter of fact, a lot of the things I'm able to accomplish is because of some of the things that they've done. So I want to make sure that I clear that up. But let me go ahead and give you some ideas. I want to make sure that I set realistic expectations as well. I don't want you to think that, we're going to wake up tomorrow morning and Trump's going to sign an executive order and Congress is going to pass a bill. That's not going to happen. These things take time. And any of you that have worked at the state level know it's a process. A lot of people, if they have no background in politics, they get eager beaver and they think, man, I'm going to show up at my state capitol and I'm going to get a bill passed the first year. And after they walk out of there all bloody, they realize, oh my gosh, it's going to take a little longer than that. Well, guys, the federal government is state government on steroids. It takes way longer. First off, there's so many more legislators. You've got 435 members of the House, 100 members of the Senate. Each of them have mammoth staffs, and they have so many issues to deal with that in many times it's the staff who actually makes the decision. The legislators don't have time to be educated on 8,000, 10,000 issues, which is literally what they're dealing with. That's not an exaggeration. There's just not the time. So they rely on their staff to educate them. So as opposed to the state level, where the overwhelming majority of time, you can walk into any state house across the country and you'll get time to meet with your state rep and you'll get to meet with your state senator. It's not really like that at the federal level. So not only do you have 435 members of the House and 100 members of the Senate, you're going to have to educate at least minimum two staff members in every single office. Usually at least a policy director and a chief of staff. You're probably going to have to, before you even get to them, meet with a lower level policy director and sometimes a lower level than that if nobody knows who you are on your first visit. So we're talking thousands of visits to get something accomplished. At the White House, as most of you know, when's the last time that you heard of someone in the shared parenting community having a meeting at the White House? It's hard to crack that bubble, especially with Trump. There's a lot of people that in the past did things that they realized they couldn't trust, and so as a result, they've got a wall. They are vetting like crazy. And I know for a fact they're vetting because I can see on my LinkedIn account, most of you know on LinkedIn, it'll tell you who looked at your LinkedIn account. And when you see people associated with the White House looking at your LinkedIn account, you know what they're doing. They're vetting you. So, and I've actually had friends of mine in the White House. Some of you know I've got a lot of friends in there right now in different positions that are vetting. Oh, I see Kathleen on here. Kathleen, I really appreciate you, by the way. The email that you sent gave a lot of very good information. So I want to bring you on board on some of these things. So, like I said, guys, I want to set the expectations. This is going to take a long time. To be honest, realistically, our issue is not a first-year issue. It's just not. Even though it is to us, and we're all passionate about it, when they're pushing, Homeland Security and education issues and other issues, we're not. And we're not, if we think we're going to do that, we're going to chase them away if we're trying to make us a first-year issue. Realistically, we're the end of year 2 or the beginning of year 3. Nothing wrong with that, guys. It's been taking us 40 years, okay? So after 40 years, I don't think 2 more years is too long to wait. But we're not waiting that long. Now is the time to be laying the groundwork. Just like a football team. They don't wait till the first game of the season. No, in preseason, they're working out. They're working out all winter long. They're reading playbooks, and then they have practice, and then they have scrimmage, so that on game day, they're ready to go. Well, even though it sounds like 2.5 years away is a long way away, it's not, guys. Now is the time that we need to be preparing and laying the groundwork, because there's a 10-pronged approach that we're going to need. So I've been laying some of the groundwork. I did forget, before I get to that, I do want to cover a couple of state-level things. In case anyone is in Virginia, I met with Governor Youngkin tonight, had a very good discussion with him, got the cell phone number for his chief of staff. We need him to veto a bill, 805 in Virginia, which is a child support bill. And what they're trying to do is double catch the inflation index. Well, if you're going for a modification, if your income is larger, then inflation is already accounted in that index. But they're wanting to add an inflation index to make up for the fact that they haven't had one since, I think, 2010 or something like that. So the bill has already passed both the House and the Senate in Virginia, and it's going to increase the average child support order between 14% and 23% across the board for every child support order that gets modified in the future. It's already passed the House and the Senate. Our only hope is to veto it. Now, I did have a meeting with Governor Youngkin tonight and his chief of staff. It went very well. I don't know that I convinced him. You can't convince a governor in one short little talk. I do think I made an impression on him. But if you're from Virginia, I need you to write him, because that is what I need you to be very polite about it. Do not file into the angry dad narrative. You've got to be, don't pull a Zelensky, okay? If you don't have the leverage, don't try and fake it, because you're going to ruin your negotiations, okay? Don't try that with Youngkin. The door is open to Youngkin. Like I said, I do have the cell phone number now of his chief of staff. I'm going to be following up over the weekend, getting him some more information. But if you're from Virginia, an email from you would make a lot of difference. So please email Governor Youngkin. Mention that you're a friend of Mark Ludwig's, that you're asking him to veto, and I think it's a House bill. I should know. This is terrible. I know the bill number is 805. I can't remember whether it's a Senate bill or a House bill. I think it started in the Senate and then it went over to the House. But the bill number is 805. But if you're in Virginia, please email Governor Youngkin. Mention that you're a friend of Mark Ludwig's, who met you on Saturday night to talk about vetoing the child support bill. But we need you to do that right away. South Dakota, we do have the bill, the SB 172, that passed the House, or passed the Senate. This week it will be in the House committee on Wednesday. And we're going to need some people to show up if you can. Once again, don't fit into the angry dad narrative. Wear a suit. Don't wear a t-shirt that says judges are corrupt, okay? That doesn't work well with legislators. That pushes them away. But we need your help in South Dakota. Alabama, we've got an executive session on HB 53. It's not a perfect bill, but it's a step in the right direction. And it does have it's already had the hearing. Now it goes to executive session for a vote this week. So if you're in Alabama, we need you there. Missouri, we've got what I believe will be the most game-changing bill in the shared parenting community. More important than a 50-50 equal shared parenting bill. More important than custodial interference bills. We've got something that if it works right, Deborah, those peaky bills are horrible. The cadence laws, those are sweeping the country. But more important than any bill, we've got a new template that we're going to start rolling out across the country, and this will be a 100% game changer, absolute game changer. So the start of that is going to be, unfortunately, it's in Jeff City this week. I'd planned on going to Indianapolis as soon as I get back to St. Louis. I was going to try and spend a day in St. Louis to rest and recuperate and then head to Indiana. And now it turns out I have to go to Jefferson City this week instead, and then I'll be hitting Indianapolis the end of the week. But those are a couple of ideas on state level things. But now let me get into sort of the 10-pronged approach, because we need all 10 aspects of this. I'm going to cover real briefly because I don't want to keep you too long tonight. I tend to ramble anyway, and I know some of you are thinking, God, just shut this guy up. Tell me the bullet points. But I want you to understand how these things all fit together. So a couple things we do have. The new addition that we have is the DOGE that President Trump has initiated at the federal level. And we are on the inside now. I do have my designated person to deal with the DOGE team. And I have met with them already, met with them twice this week. So we do have a person assigned, as opposed to people that send the blind email that, DOGE puts out, hey, send this email. And unfortunately, you get a million people send these emails. Guys, just so you know, the DOGE team doesn't read those emails. They have an AI bot and interns that go through and basically weed out and give this generic response to the overwhelming majority of them. We finally have our own people that we're actually dealing with at the DOGE team now that are actual people that we can communicate with, that know what our issue is, and we can deal with them. So we are making progress at the DOGE team. Like I said, I had 2 meetings with them this week. Part of the 10-pronged approach is some topic experts, and that why some of those may be on here. I saw Kath Lee is one of them on here. I don't know if Connie regularly is on or not, but she's a topic expert on Title IV-E, because you can't have one person. When we're going to make major change like this, we need a team. We need to brainstorm. And I'm not that person. My specialty is the negotiating, understanding the culture, and making deals, basically. But to do that, I need a team of experts. So there are some people I'm going to be bringing with me in the future to some of these meetings with members of Congress. As I book some more meetings at the White House and with the DOGE team, I'll be bringing some people to that. That's going to be a very carefully vetted team, though, because like I said, this is the best of the best. You can't have a Zelensky incident at the White House. You blew your negotiations. And we can't risk having something like that happen, because we only get one shot at this, guys, and if we blow it, we're out. So I'm looking for some topic experts across the country that are going to be dealing with on Title IV-D, Title IV-E, and then at the state level, some of the state issues. But just so you know, shared parenting and custodial interference is not a federal issue. Federal issue is the funding mechanisms. The Senate, we're making great progress there. Some of you know I've got 2 very close personal friends, one especially, Eric Schmidt. Eric and I have known each other a long time. Some of you have seen pictures when Levi was little of Levi at Eric's house. So know him. His staff is very, very good to deal with. And so we've got some great ins there, and met with several other members of the U.S. Senate. Met with Lindsey Graham today, but several members of the Senate that I've met with. The House, we're very fortunate. I've got the same thing, a couple of very close personal friends with Congressman Bob Onder, who's a freshman. But that's good, because that way his staff all knows who we are early on, because down the road he's going to be hit with hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people calling him. I wanted us to be the first ones so that he knows our issue and their team knows us. And so I had several meetings with not only him, but his entire staff while I was here. And then my friend, Congressman Eric Burleson, Congresswoman Sparks. I had spent 2 hours with her. Usually I tell people, don't ever stay more than 30 minutes. It just so happens Ola's been a friend of mine for years. That's Congressman Sparks' chief of staff. And so Ola brought me in, and so we spent a lot of time that we normally wouldn't have, just sort of chit-chatting and just reminiscing about old times and everything like that. And the Congresswoman was in there the whole time. So we had a great time. So if you're from Indiana, you got a great Congresswoman with her. Okay, so I already mentioned the DOGE team, the experts, the Senate, the House, the media. We have to have a major media campaign. I've been working on building relations. Some of you know that I had been on the Mike Huckabee show. I was actually scheduled to be on his last, January 9th was going to be his last episode, and or it was when I was scheduled, actually. We didn't know it was going to be his last episode. And then when he got called over to be the ambassador to Israel, it turned out his last show, so they did a best of, and so I got the boot that day. But some of you saw the Epic Times interview where they did the American Thought Leaders. It was the second time I've been on. Jan Jekelek is a very, very good friend of mine, a great supporter of ours. Matter of fact, I had lunch with him today, but a very neat guy, a huge supporter. And some of you have reached out to him, and he's tried to connect you to me, because I had a couple people reach out to me that said, hey, I called the Epic Times and they gave me your number. But so he is very supportive of us. He's going to be doing some more media for us in the future. I had a great conversation today with Rob Bluey of the Daily Signal, the founder of the Daily Signal, has a very large outreach, and he and I had a great conversation today. Richard Bott from Bott Radio, that owns hundreds of radio stations all across the country. He's committed to start helping us out, getting us some airtime on all of his radio stations across the country. So that's the media section. Next is connecting us to some national mega organizations. We just don't have the people who are trained on how to meet with legislators and how to do it right. We have people who mean well, but they usually end up doing more damage than good. We need to align ourselves with large organizations that first off have more money and have the firepower. And so I've been working very hard over the last couple of years. We made some great inroads, especially within the Christian community, because we can tie our issue to marriage unification, reunification, co-parenting issues. And so some of you know I built up a pretty good friendship with Tony Perkins with Family Research Council. He's lined me up. I've had several meetings with his policy staff. National Association of Christian Lawmakers. Several of them are probably watching on here today. Very grateful for Jason Rapert, the founder of National Association of Christian Lawmakers. Had me speak last year at his conference. Said he's going to have me speak this year again out in Lynchburg. Americans for Tax Reform. Been spending a lot of time with Grover Norquist lately. Grover let me speak at his meeting that he has in Washington, D.C. on Wednesdays, but saw him in Jeff City 2 weeks ago, and then saw him earlier this week, and then was with him yesterday and today. And tonight, actually, just about an hour ago, we were just downstairs in the lobby together. But Grover is just a neat guy. Let's see, next thing, major national mega influencers. And working to try and connect with some people. Like today I met with Gary Bauer, that was the former policy director for Reagan. And he's still got quite a bit of influence as an influencer. So people like a Morton Blackwell, spent some time with Morton. He's getting up there in age, but the founder of Leadership Institute, 240,000 graduates. Morton is very well respected in Washington, D.C. and has a lot of connections. Richard Vigoro, the #1 fundraiser on the conservative spectrum. I believe they said he's raised over $8 billion. That's not an exaggeration. $8 billion with a B for candidates over the last 40 years. And so I've spent a lot of time with him and his staff this week. So working on some of the mega influencers. And along that time, it's fundraising. I get some people, I think somebody had shared a post that, hey, Mark's going to be talking, and somebody made the comment, he's probably going to ask for money again. Yes, I am, guys, because I'll tell you what, it takes money to make these kind of things happen. If anybody's ever worked on a campaign for a candidate, 80% of that candidate's time is spent raising money. Because it doesn't matter how knowledgeable you are about the issue. If you don't have the funds to get your issue out, nobody knows who you are. This trip this week was an expensive week. Thousands of dollars this week cost. I don't know, do you think it was worth it for me to have 3 meetings with the White House, 2 meetings with the Doge team, meetings with numerous members of Congress, major media people? I think that was worth it. And so for the people who say, oh, he's probably going to ask for money, my attitude is, why don't you come up here then next? Let's see how far you get. You take off your job 29 weeks out of the next 2 years and spend your time traveling around the country and going to Washington, D.C., and let's see how far you get. Well, if not, then would it not make sense if somebody is willing to take the time off and is willing to have and has the connections to get in? Isn't it worth it to donate to somebody like that instead of trying to be all noble and say, you know what? We shouldn't have to donate anything. Great. How's that worked for the last 40 years? So yes, I am going to ask for money. But I'll tell you this, and I'm saying this arrogantly, it's just a fact. I've made progress, and I made darn good progress this week. So I can promise you this, if you do donate, we're going to make some progress with that money. Because right now, I've been asked to come back. I literally have members of Congress and the White House and Doge who have said, if you can come back to D.C., we will meet with you again. Well, guys, I don't have the money right now, so I'm reliant on you guys for donations. So I think I put on the top of my thread the PayPal, the Venmo, and the Zelle. If anybody can donate, I do need money. And anybody who donates 200 or more, by the way, Sunday I'm going to do a Zoom when I get back to St. Louis. I don't know exactly what time. It'll probably be early afternoon Sunday, but it's going to be a very in-depth Zoom. More in-depth than this on the plan of attack and what am I doing? What's the strategic plan? Because my attitude is, if you're an investor, you have a right to know, what am I doing with that money? Hold me accountable. So we're going to have a Zoom meeting on Sunday. So anybody who donates 200 or more, make sure you send me your email, by the way, if you do. Because like Zelle, I don't know your email. Somehow on my bank statement, it shows up your first initial last name, but nothing else. So if you donate 200 or more, please send me a private message with your email address so I can get you access to the Zoom that I'm going to be doing on Sunday. So anyway, getting back to the okay. So that was fundraising, and then the last piece of the puzzle is the White House, and this is the one that I'm most excited about. Most people know if you've made trips to D.C., it's pretty hard to penetrate that White House. Unless you take the tour. Even the tours aren't easy to get to. You got to get a member of Congress to be able to give you one of their 8 passes a day that they get. So you got to usually call 6 weeks ahead of time, and if it's during the summertime, you got to really know somebody sometimes in the member of Congress office just to get the public tour. This wasn't the public tour, guys. These are actual meetings. So I did have the first meeting on I believe it was Wednesday with the director of OPL. Today was a little bit more exciting. And I can't reveal the details of what was discussed because, like I said, they will be monitoring this. And if I reveal too much, those discussions are off. So I can't reveal. I do want to tell you this, like I said, to set the table of expectations. This is a long-term process. So please, don't anybody make a meme that, I forget who the idiot started that whole TikTok thing, claiming that Trump signed an executive order changing the tax deduction for the people who pay income tax. No, he didn't. And when you do silly things like that aren't verified, you make us all look bad. Please verify before you do something like that because it makes us look bad. So please don't share things that, hey, Mark met with the Trump team and by next month they're going to be signing an executive order doing away with Title 4D. That is not going to happen. It's not going to happen this year at all. I can promise you that. It's a 2 to 3 year thing, and I don't know for sure what we're going to get. We've got a lot of things that we're going to be asking for. We're going to go for a big ask up front, but just like anything else, any type of the art of the deal, we're going to have some negotiations that are going to take place. And so that's what I want to get with my topic experts. People like, I think Kathleen, I still see Kathleen on here. I don't know if she's still watching or if she got bored from me. But we're going to come up with a comprehensive list. Or what are the things that we think we'd like to have in an ideal world? And then we meet before we go to the White House to say, okay, which things are we willing to negotiate? Because we're going to have to negotiate something off. Which things are we willing to negotiate off? So far, the first steps of getting in the White House are to make sure that we have an assigned person to us so that we're not randomly sending emails to the White House, okay? Because once again, you send a random email to the White House, I can promise you this. Trump's not going to see it. Vince Haley's not going to see it. Will Sharp's not going to see it. Jason Miller's not going to see it. It's just not going to happen. It's going to go to either an AI, a bot, or some intern somewhere. Oh, Kathleen is on here. But yeah, so they're not going to see those emails, okay? You're not going to, people think they're writing the president. Do you realize, guys, this is a true story. Some of you know that I was interviewing with the Trump transition team in October, November. There are 8,000 positions. That's not an exaggeration. 8,000 positions that this administration is going to be hiring over the next 6 months. 8,000. That is huge, 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 huge. So when you send an email to the White House, just so you know, Trump's not going to get it. Vince Haley's not going to get it. Will Sharp's not going to get it. Jason Miller's not going to get it. It's not going anywhere. Well, let me just tell you this, though. I did meet personally today, and I can't reveal all the things that were said, but I can confirm this, and they've given me permission to say this. I did personally meet today with both Jason Miller, who is a senior advisor to Trump, and Vince Haley, who is the political director for Trump. Nothing happens in the Trump administration without going through Vince Haley. He is the #1 policy guy. And I did personally meet with both of them today. I discussed Title 4D with them. Now, not in depth. I didn't get too much time. I got about 5 to 7 minutes. But I was at least in 5 to 7 minutes able to give them enough of a comprehensive thing to where they have an idea. It's now on their radar. But more importantly, Vince Haley himself gave me the personal contact information and assigned someone and connected us with the person I'm going to be working with for Title 4D reform. Guys, that is huge. Huge, huge, huge. When the #1 White House guy gives you the personal contact information that you're not going to find anywhere. And matter of fact, he even told me how they coded this particular person's email address because they want to remain anonymous. They don't want to be flooded with all kinds of emails. So they did some funky things with the email address that is pretty interesting, the strategy they used. But it's kind of neat. So, but I'll just tell you, I can confirm, yes, we now have our own personal person that we've been assigned to that I can deal with at the White House. Now, I have to be careful with that. I can't pester them. I can't call them once a week, every week. Okay? They're being bombarded right now. So you've got to learn it's sales and marketing at this point, guys. It doesn't matter how good our issue is. It doesn't matter how much you know about the issue. If you can't get your foot in the door and build the relationship, which is 80 to 90% of it, 80 to 90% of every bill is the relationship that you built and doing it right. And if you push too much and become a pest, they're going to close the door to you. So I've got some work to do to build the relationship. I am very fortunate that a lot of you know I do have some friends. Will Scharf, the legislative assistant who may be watching this, I know he does watch some of mine. But he's the one that had all the executive orders, the balding guy that hands the folder and says, Mr. President, this executive order will release the files of the JFK assassination. That's my friend Will. And then some of you know Ed Martin, who is now the prosecuting attorney or the attorney for the District of Columbia. And so I've got several good friends like that are in the White House, but this wasn't their specialty. But it helps when you've got a lot of those connections, and now you've got your assigned person. You've got some credibility and some influence now to get a few things done. So that was a major step this week, guys. That alone was worth the whole trip, hands down. To meet with, one person on Wednesday, and then both the policy director and one of the senior policy advisors in the same week. That's huge. And I hope this didn't come across arrogant. It's just very factual. I don't know that anybody in the shared parenting community has ever had 3 White House officials that they met with in 1 week about Title IV-D reform. So all in all, it's been an exciting week. We do have a lot more to go, though. So like I said, please don't share posts. The Title IV-D is going away next month. That's not going to happen. But the foot's in the door. We've got the right connections. And more importantly, we've got direct connection to the right connections. Now, a couple things I do want to talk about. I'll save the best for the very end, I guess. I do want to put another call for donations because, like I said, it takes money to do these things. So if anybody can contribute, we need the money, but I promise you we're making a difference. And I challenge you, do you know of any other time that we've had this much activity within a 7-day period of time in Washington, D.C.? Do you think it was worth it for the people who contributed $25 or $50 or $200? I think so. So if anybody has the funds to contribute, I don't care what it is. Every bit helps out, whether it's 25, 50, 100. As I said, if you can contribute 200 or more, please make sure that you put your email address in there so I can include you in the private Zoom that I'm doing on Sunday. You can pay by PayPal, starnetmark@yahoo.com, Venmo, Mark-Ludwig-18, and then you'll need 0977 to do the friend-to-friend, Please always do them friend-to-friend on Facebook on PayPal and Zoom. Otherwise, they take that silly service charge out. And then Zelle is 314-814-0977. But now let me get to something else. I think some of you have kind of had an idea that something was going on behind the scenes, but there is something going on behind the scenes. I've been working on for about 2 years. I've realized that there was this 10-pronged approach. And so, this meeting at the White House didn't happen overnight. Most of you know I've been building connections. Some of these connections I didn't realize I was needing at the White House because I've known some of these people, like Ed Martin. I've known him for, I think 20 years now. And Will Scharf, I've known him for at least 10 years now. But really started ramping it up when it looked like Trump was probably going to get back in the White House. And then with some of these other things that we have going on, the Doge team, been spending a lot of time, especially the last 6 months. But the last thing we need is more of an orchestrated strategy. And we need more of an organized, an orchestrated, and a vetted grassroots team. Because unfortunately what we have, and I see this when I go to state to state to state, I see people that mean well. We had somebody this week that meant well, so I'm not putting them down if they're watching this, but we had 2 bills going in one state. And they liked one bill better than the other. And I had made a comment that, that one bill was progressing. Well, they made kind of a rude comment about that bill. And they were like, I don't like that bill. It's a horrible bill. Or we need to kill that bill and put this other bill through. Well, unfortunately, I've got 5 legislators from that state that are personal friends of mine, okay, who happen to look, and not all 5 of them, but I do know for a fact 2 of them saw that. And they were very turned off because their attitude is, you know what? You may not like that bill as much as you like the other one, but Mark's out there working, trying to help you, and you're trying to sabotage a bill in your own community. If you're willing to sabotage your own community, I don't want to help you at all. So I'm going to vote no on both of your bills. One of them literally made that statement to me. She said, I'm tempted to vote no on both of the bills just because of that idiot statement. Okay, now I know the person didn't mean harm. But guys, we have so many people who, because they're uneducated, don't understand the implications of what happens. Passing legislation has more to do with relationships, friendships, influence perception than it does how good the bill is. And so what we can't have, especially at the federal level, is people who don't understand that. I would much rather have someone who's trained in professional sales and marketing skills come with me than somebody who knows every detail of the bill. And by the way, that's not putting Kathleen down at all, by the way. So I want to make sure that sometimes I say things and people think, is he putting me down? Kathleen, in case you're watching, you are an expert, and no, you're not one of the bad ones I'm talking about. Okay, but just as an example, though, like I said, if I have to choose between a policy expert or a negotiator, when I'm trying to pass legislation, I want the negotiator. And we're trying to build a team. So we need a team that's organized and orchestrated, though. We can't have one person doing one thing and one doing another. When a football team goes on the field, they need everybody running the same play. And that's what we need, and that's what we've been lacking at the federal level and at the state level. So over the last 6 months, I've been working behind the scenes on a project that's about to launch within the next 60 to 90 days. And I've got some very neat people that are going to be a part of this. I've got, at this point, 8 either current legislators or former legislators. Several of them are pretty well known nationally. Because in the past, what we've done, we've had a lot of organizations in the shared parenting community, but the board of directors and the advisors are all people in the shared parenting community. And we're sounding in an echo chamber. Well, the challenge is when you go to the White House or when you go to meet with members of Congress, if they don't see names on the board of directors that they recognize, that they look up to as experts, you have no credibility. You're like a nobody. So I've been working with some of the connections I have. I'm about to launch something. I'm not going to really be able to details yet, but I'm about ready to launch something that's going to have some pretty darn impressive names, not necessarily within the shared parenting community, but within the political community. These names are very well respected nationwide. And when people look and see, holy cow, they're on your board of directors, that's how your phone calls get answered. I was just talking to one of Phyllis Schlafly's, a lady that has worked with Phyllis Schlafly. Phyllis died, so she didn't still work with her, but worked with Phyllis for 30 years. And she said, yeah, man, when we called, our calls got through because people recognize the name Phyllis Schlafly. Well, I'm creating an organization like that right now that is going to, trust me, it's going to have the reputation our calls are going to get answered. But I want only vetted people. But I am looking for people that want to be a part of the team. A couple things I'm looking for in the team. Number one, you're going to have to be a team player. There is no, solo people going out on your own or making calls behind the back. If you're going to use the resources of the team, you're going to use it for the team, but I need to know. What I don't want is people using my name to meet with a legislator, and then I find out from that legislator somebody called behind my back and tried to meet with them. And it's not like I'm some kind of a dictator or something like that, but I need to know what's going on that play. If I, with Levi, he's my son. I don't want the neighbor across the street, the neighbor's dad across the street giving him cigarettes saying, hey, these are okay for you, they're not too bad. No. This is my son. I'm the one who's raising my son. You raise your son. Well, I'm having a playbook that I've designed for a long time right now. I'm not going to have somebody across the street ruin the plans. So I just need to know what's going on in the formula that we're going to be putting together. So I'm looking for people that are 100% team players. We won't always agree, but once we call the play, we're all on the same team. I need people that are vetted. At the federal level, they are looking at your Facebook pages. So if you've ever put anybody down on Facebook, and said, I don't like this person, and put their picture up there, okay, that's not the person we want at the federal level meeting with the White House and members of Congress, okay? It looks like a third grade bully on the school courtyard, okay? We don't have time for that. We need to be on the same team. So anybody who applies, I'm definitely going to be scrubbing their Facebook to see what do they look like. Because when somebody looks at your Facebook page, do you look like somebody who's professional that has your act together? Or do you look like somebody who's childish, likes drama and fighting back and forth? So we are going to be vetting some people. We're going to be looking for what your background is. What are your skills? What can you contribute? In the past, so many times we've had people who are like, oh yeah, just come help. And I love people that want to help. Unfortunately, we need the right players on the field. I'm sure a football team would love everybody to come help out. The challenge is, when you're trying to win a game, you better have the best players out on the field. And right now, the door's open at DOJ, the door's open at the White House, with the U.S. House, with Congress, with major media across the nation. We can't blow it. So I'll be revealing more details next week. I'm going to do a Facebook Live because I rambled way long enough tonight. Next week, at some point, I'm going to do a Facebook Live talking specifically about what am I looking for parts on the team. I'm going to be looking for policy experts. I'm going to look for people that can do some research. I'm going to be looking for people that have graphic skills. I'm going to be looking for people that can help design websites. I'm going to be looking for people that can do call to actions. I'm going to look for project task coordinators. So we've got a lot of things that we're going to be looking for, and I'll be describing more of that. But all in all, guys, like I said, I'm just very excited. It's been a great week up here. Like I said, I've been going since 5:30 this morning, so about an 18-hour day, and I still am so excited. I'm not going to be able to get to sleep tonight, and there's still more to go. I still have more meetings lined up tomorrow. But thanks, every one of you, for a lot of the support, the encouragement. As I said, if you can donate, I would greatly appreciate it. Like I said, I put the PayPal, starnetmark@yahoo.com, the Venmo, Mark-Ludwig-18, and then the Zelle, 314-814-0977. Appreciate every single one of you, and I will talk to y'all later.